had been looking forward to July 4th for weeks, ever since my daughter Emily moved to Portland with her husband and the kids. I'd missed holidays more than anything. I missed the scent of her cinnamon candles, the little flags the kids would wave, the way she'd burn the hot dogs just enough to make us all laugh. So when she mentioned on the phone, rather casually, "We're doing a small thing for the 4th this year," my heart lit up like a sparkler. I asked, "Should I come? I could bring that peach pie you love so much." She was distracted, maybe folding laundry, maybe wrangling the twins. She just said, "Yeah, Sharif, you want?" It wasn't exactly enthusiastic, but I took it as a yes. Maybe even a silent hope. She was too busy to say how much she needed the help. I started preparing the next morning. I made the pie from scratch, fresh peaches, a lattice crust, just like Emily loved. I packed sparklers for the kids, a flag scarf I knitted for her, and a few paper lanterns for the backyard. I even bought a tiny pinwheel for the mailbox. Just to make her smile, it took me nearly a full day to get there by bus. I didn't want to trouble her with airport pickups or long drives. I just wanted to show up with love in my hands and hope in my heart. I reached her neighborhood around 3 p.m. The sky was that perfect summer blue. I could already hear kids laughing, music playing from a backyard speaker, the faint pop-pop of distant firecrackers. My heart beat faster as I turned onto her street. Cars lined both sides of the curb. Balloons were tied to her mailbox. A grill smoked gently from the backyard, filling the air with the scent of burgers and charcoal. Her husband's voice rose above the others, laughing. It felt like coming home. Smoothed out my blouse, brushed invisible crumbs off my slacks, and clutched the pie tightly in both hands as I walked up to the front door. My suitcase trailed behind me. I rang the bell. Emily opened the door within seconds. She looked radiant, her blonde hair pulled back in a red bandana, her dress crisp and festive. But the moment she saw me, her smile faltered. I smiled brightly. "Surprise! I brought your favorite." Her eyes narrowed slightly. "Mom, What are you doing here?" I blinked, caught off guard. "You said I could come." "I brought the pie, remember?" Her voice dropped, embarrassed. I didn't mean for you to actually come." I felt my heart drop into my stomach. I thought you said I could," I stammered. "You said, yeah, sure, so I just assumed." She glanced behind her like someone might be watching. "I didn't really think you'd come. I only invited Julia Mark's mom. You know how complicated things get when there are too many people. Too many people. I wasn't a stranger. I was her mother. I came all the way from Spokane," I said quietly. "I brought the scarf you liked last year and the peach pie you loved since you were a little girl." Her lips pressed into a thin line. "I'm sorry, Mom, but this is just ... Not a good time. I didn't plan for you. Julia's already staying in the guest room. There's really no space." I looked down at my suitcase. My hands were trembling slightly. The pie shifted in my grip. "You could have told me not to come." "I didn't think I had to," she said, crossing her arms. "I figured you'd get the hint." The words struck like a slap across the face. I didn't cry. Not there. Not in front of her. I just nodded slowly and said, "I understand." She hesitated for a moment, then quietly said, "I'm sorry," and closed the door gently. I stood there for a moment, pie in hand, with the sound of children laughing just on the other side of the wall. My own grandchildren, my own daughter, a celebration unfolding without me. I turned around and walked back toward the sidewalk, dragging my little suitcase behind me. My legs felt heavy. I stopped at the corner, unsure where to go. I didn't know if there were any hotels nearby. I didn't care. I sat down on a bus bench, the metal scorching hot under the July sun, and rested the pie on my lap. All I could think was, how did we get here? I remembered all the Julys when Emily was little. How we'd go to the park with folding chairs. How she used to wrap little flags around her Barbie dolls. How I'd let her stay up way past bedtime to watch the fireworks. Curled up beside me with eyes full of wonder. I remembered every holiday I spent scraping together change to make it special. Every time I skipped my own meal so she could have seconds. Every story I told, every hug I gave, every night I stood at the window when she was out too late. And now I was a stranger on her doorstep. I sat there until the sun started to lower in the sky. I watched families walk by with picnic baskets and lawn chairs. Kids ran past with sticky hands and popsicles. Every direction I looked, people were gathering together, but I had never felt more alone. Finally, I opened my suitcase and pulled out the scarf I had made for her. I folded it neatly and laid it on my lap. Then I took a pen from my bag and scribbled a quick note on the napkin wrapped around the pie. Greater than maybe I wasn't invited, but I came anyway because I thought I still mattered. I left the pie, the scarf, and the sparklers on her porch. Then quietly turned and walked away. As I reached the end of the street, the first firework cracked through the sky. The neighborhood lit up in bursts of red and gold, but I didn't look back. Absolutely. Below is the expanded part 2 of the emotional story. I came for July 4th, but my daughter said, "You're not welcome." I only invited my mother-in-law, written in a deeply emotional, cinematic style, around 1,500 words. The next morning, Emily sat at the kitchen table nursing a lukewarm cup of coffee. The sounds of celebration had faded into silence. The grill was cold, the paper lanterns still hanging from the porch, now drooping slightly with dew. Firework shells lay scattered across the lawn like ghostly reminders of what was supposed to be a perfect holiday. She should have felt satisfied. The food was great, the guests happy. Her husband Mark had praised her hosting skills, and her mother-in-law, Julia, was all smiles. But Emily's heart felt oddly heavy, and when her 5-year-old daughter, Lily, shuffled into the kitchen holding the sparkler Grandma always brought and asked, "Why didn't Grandma come to the fireworks this year?" That heaviness turned into something sharper before she could answer. Her son Josh followed. "Did Grandma forget to come? I thought she was bringing the peach pie." That did it. Emily looked out the window, heart racing. Something gnawed at her. Something she had ignored last night in the rush of logistics and appearances. "I don't know," she said quietly. "Maybe she got busy." Julia walked in just then, adjusting her robe. "Morning," she said, then noticed the silence. "Everything okay?" Emily hesitated. "Mom showed up yesterday." Julia's brow furrowed. "She did. I didn't see her. She came with a pie, and I told her she wasn't invited. I didn't mean to be cruel. It was already too much with the guests, and I only mentioned the party casually on the phone." Julia's face softened, but not in sympathy. "In quiet disapproval, Emily," she said, setting her mug down. "Your mother took 2 buses and a train to get here? I saw the pie on the porch this morning when I went out for the paper. There was a scarf, a note too." Emily's stomach twisted. "She left it here," she whispered. Julia nodded and left the room. A moment later, she returned with a small, clear food container and a folded note, gently wrapped in a plastic bag to protect it from the dew. Emily unfolded the note. "Maybe I wasn't invited, but I came anyway because I thought I still mattered." Her breath caught. The handwriting so familiar, so steady, it made her feel 5 years old again, opening lunch boxes at school to find tiny napkin notes that read, "Love you, be brave." She pressed the napkin against her chest. Julia sat beside her. "You know, not every mother-in-law gets along with her daughter-in-law, but I always admired your mom. She raised you alone, didn't she?" Emily nodded, eyes glossy. "She didn't have much, but she always made the most of it. She didn't just show up for the holidays. She showed up and... Yesterday? Well, I think you missed something important." Emily blinked rapidly. "I didn't want her to feel like a burden." "Then you shouldn't have treated her like one." It was harsh, but true. Emily stood up suddenly. She walked to the front door and opened it wide. The morning sun shone across the porch, where the empty spots still sat where the pie, the scarf, and the love her mother had carried with her had briefly rested before being abandoned. She turned back inside, grabbed her keys and bag. "Where are you going?" Julia asked. "To find her," Emily said, "and to bring her home."